Directly occupying the center with d4 or e4 are White's most popular ways to open the game. But another important resource is to play the flexible knight f3, supporting the center and remaining flexible with the pawn structure. We're going to examine two interesting ways for White to continue after the classical response d5, claiming central space while inviting White to return to the classical queen-pawn openings by playing d4. If White would prefer to avoid mainline territory, the reti and King's Indian attack are two openings that generally emphasize positional understanding when concrete memorization is typically less important. Both of these openings share a kingside fianchetto. The reti typically involves striking against Black's center with c4. In the King's Indian attack, after first playing d3, prepares to challenge Black's center with e4. Instead of committing the central pawn structure, the King's Indian attack focuses on completing kingside development by fianchettoing the light-squared bishop, followed by castling kingside. We see this approach in action after the typical moves g3, knight f6, and bishop g2. Although White's play may be rather automatic in the early stages of the King's Indian attack, Black has a wide variety of options. We'll initially look at Black's approach of developing solidly and preparing rapid kingside development, starting with e6, supporting the center while preparing to activate the dark-squared bishop, although this approach does restrict Black's light-squared bishop. White completes the initial plan by castling kingside. White has built a solid home for the castled king, remaining flexible with the central structure. In its most basic form, King's Indian attack players are usually prepared to play d3, knight b to d2, followed by preparing the central strike e4. Although White may have a clear plan, it's important not to play these moves automatically. If Black tries to activate the dark-squared bishop with a move such as bishop c5, rather than mechanically continuing with d3, this is a good moment for White to play d4, grabbing central space while gaining an important tempo against Black's misplaced bishop. A more cautious, as well as solid approach is to develop the bishop to the modest e7 square. Preparing kingside castling. Since White hasn't committed the central structure, there are still options to transpose into other openings. c4 is in the style of the reti, the other related opening we'll introduce later in the video. White may also decide to play d4, and if Black decides to castle, this can transpose into the popular Catalan opening after c4. If White wants to play the King's Indian attack, then the battle lines will be drawn after d3. You may wonder why this is called the King's Indian attack. White hasn't developed a single piece or pawn beyond the third rank. Although the opening starts out in a slow-paced manner, its dynamic potential should not be underestimated. After Black castles, White wants to strike in the center with e4, so this important pawn break